1, 2, 3. 3 count 4.
Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer and welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling, the channel dedicated to wrestling video games, fueled by my love, passion, and obsession for them. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am playing WWF WrestleMania 2000, bringing you another call. I got a lot of these on the way, so I hope you're happy about that. And it is none other than Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, especially very influential as a kid growing up in the early 90s. I got 4 outfits here for you for Mr. Perfect. As always with my calls, in the description down below, there's a link to the full call where I have everything typed out, the moves, the parameters, the profile settings, everything. So if you want the entire call, check the description below and stay tuned for the appearance. I'm going to go over the appearance in the video, play a match, talk a little bit about Mr. Perfect and what I did with the call. But here we go. So we got a tire. This is a very basic call. A tire, body size 3. Skin tone, I went with the second skin tone, which is actually number 1. Ring attire 41. Light blue, so that's number 14 on the color palette. Upper body 42. Light blue, and then 4 for the trim, just to give it that little like outline. You could keep both colors light blue, but I always like, when I have to make a singlet one color, I always alternate the color types. Head 0. Skin tone 1, it's the same. Face 10, that's the face I chose. Let me know what face you chose for Mr. Perfect. Hair 1, 5, 3, which is the second blonde color. Hair 2, 21, front hair 21. I believe like this front hair, it always trips me up because I believe this front hair is the same as another front hair. Like that, it's like the same exact front hair down the line. It's like number 40 something, which I always thought was weird. Wristband 1, 2, which is white. Knee pad, I chose knee pad 7. 0, you can keep that default, both sides. And then feet 0, 1, you know, white boots, classic white boots. 2, 2 for the white boots. And there you go, that's Mr. Perfect. And that's pretty much the entire outfit. All I do is change the colors. Mr. Perfect, he wore a very basic, you know, singlet, if you will. The only downside, this is his orange one, so light orange and then just the orange trim and light orange for the shorts as well. The only downside for this call is that the upper body part of the singlet, there's no you know, black design. He had like this V-shaped cut into the back of his singlet, and sometimes he would, you know, the color, usually when he wore like a colored outfit like this one, the yellow one or the orange one, he always had the black cut into the back of his singlet. And then when he wore his black outfit like this one, he always had one of his other colors cut into the back of it. And that's the only thing that sort of takes away from this call, that really sort of like bugs me and almost kept me from making Mr. Perfect. But I was like, you know what? I'll get over it. You know, it's as close as you're gonna get if you're making Mr. Perfect. Vanilla version of WrestleMania 2000. No mods. There's a lot of great mods, a lot of great ROM hacks out there. There's ROM hacks where you can import characters from WCW NW Revenge over to WrestleMania 2000. I think that's great because then you could just bring over Mr. Perfect from WCW NW Revenge into WrestleMania 2000, and you have his outfit. You have his actual outfit because it's in Revenge. It's another Aki game that, you know, Mr. Perfect makes an appearance in, because during this time when WrestleMania 2000 came out, he was in WCW. But WWF is where I remember watching him the most, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I just want to remind everyone, check in the description below for the full call. Typed out all the moves. The move set is basically imported over from WCW NW Revenge with a few altercations that I made. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know if there's any changes you made to Mr. Perfect. Let me know if you've done that ROM hack where you imported him over, or you've played other mods with him in the game. We're going to be facing Shawn Michaels, HBK. A little bit of a contemporary. Obviously, Mr. Perfect started wrestling before Shawn Michaels did, but they did cross paths several times in WWF, and I thought it would be fun to play against Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam, which was a very big pay-per-view for Mr. Perfect. I remember Mr. Perfect, as many people probably do, as Intercontinental Champion. He first won the title in a tournament after Ultimate Warrior vacated the title when he beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. He defeated Tito Santana in that tournament final, and there wasn't much to that first run. He did have another great match with Tito Santana that I highly recommend you seek out on the WWE Network. It was on like Saturday Night's Main Event in July 1990, and he would lose the title to Texas Tornado, aka Kerry Von Erich, at SummerSlam 1990. He would regain the title from Texas Tornado on another episode of Superstars of Wrestling, which is kind of funny, right? And then he would lose it again at SummerSlam. So I think that was like really interesting that he won both his titles on a Superstars of Wrestling taping, but then he lost it both times at a SummerSlam within a year of each other. That's pretty incredible. But that match, SummerSlam 91 versus Bret Hart, that's one of my favorite WWF matches of all time. It's probably like top 20 favorite matches. It's really good. Still holds up. Go watch it. Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect would have another classic match at the King of the Ring 93, which is my favorite King of the Ring of all time and one of my favorite tournaments in wrestling of all time. And you would think that they would have even more matches, but no, their body of work isn't as big as you would think. I mean, if Perfect and Bret Hart were feuding today, you'd probably see them wrestle on Raw and SmackDown for like 20 weeks straight, and then they would have 6 pay-per-views in a row. But back then, the pay-per-views were more spread out, so like you had to wait. But like the fact that we had to wait 2 years for a big pay-per-view rematch between Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect is kind of crazy. That's the only title he held in WWF, though, was the Intercontinental Championship, which is a shame. A lot of people thought, especially in the early 90s, he was one of the top heels in the company. And why did we call him Mr. Perfect? Was he perfect in the ring? Close. I mean, he was one of the best wrestlers in the ring, in my opinion. But I think what I remember even more so about not just his great matches with guys like Bret Hart or Roddy Piper or Tito Santana or Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Razor Ramon. I mean, there's so many matches he's had that's been incredible to watch, and seeing him as a performer in the ring. But it was those vignettes, like the vignettes of him, like I am perfect, and then like, you know, him shooting from like the half court, you know, basketball, or hit him at the golf course. Like he was quote unquote perfect at everything, right? But we wouldn't get that unless we saw those vignettes. And that's something like I kind of really wish not just WWE, but a lot of wrestling companies did more of, is that film these vignettes that really establish who these characters are, who these personas are, because I still remember those vignettes. And you know, people have tried to emulate them, people have tried to mock them. Even the Young Bucks in one of their recent, you know, Being the Elite were sort of riffing off of the Mr. Perfect vignettes. And you know, obviously there's the magic of editing, but you know, wrestling legend goes that Mr. Perfect actually did nail all those things he was doing in the vignettes. I mean, he was such a character, right? And also he was surrounded by other great characters. He was surrounded by guys like Macho Man and Ric Flair and Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Mr. Perfect was one of the best sort of like manager-wrestler combinations I remember watching as a kid, and even going back and watching them to this day. They had such great chemistry. Unfortunately, Mr. Perfect passed away at a very early age. He died when he was 44 in 2003. But what's even a little bit more sad about that is that, you know, after leaving WWF in 96, he would go on to WCW from 97 to 2000. But then he would return to WWF in 2002. And he'd make his appearance at the 2002 Royal Rumble. It was a very memorable Royal Rumble for me when he showed up, because again, I had such fond memories of watching him in WWF. And when he went to WCW, I was excited, but his WCW run didn't come anywhere close to his run in WWF. You know, he was part of the NWO, which everyone was part of the NWO. He did have some fun matches with Ric Flair and DDP. He tried to sort of like revitalize his feud with Bret Hart, but it didn't really go anywhere. He joined the West Texas Rednecks and had a tag team with Barry Windham when they won the tag team championship. and he also won the US Championship when he was in WCW. So he did stuff, but it just didn't resonate that much because, you know, WCW, there was so much other things going on at the time, and he just kind of fell to the wayside. So for when he came back in the Royal Rumble, I thought, oh, this is cool. We're gonna get like a last big run with Mr. Perfect, and it didn't last long because he would leave the company or get fired from the company in May because of the infamous plane ride from hell incident where he apparently was wrestling Brock Lesnar on a plane, which, I mean, come on, why fire him? Put that in the ring. Let's see Mr. Perfect and Brock Lesnar wrestling each other, especially early, young Brock Lesnar. Oh, that would have been so incredible. Here we go, hitting the perfect plex. Bam. It's just a fisherman suplex, right? Fisherman suplex pin. But to this day, whenever I see someone do it, I still call it the perfect plex. It's a strong grapple move. It's not even like a finisher. Like, anyone can do it, but you gotta put it as the special here for Mr. Perfect. Again, the whole moveset's from Revenge, but I made some altercations. I had a lot of fun making this call because I went down the Mr. Perfect memory lane. And go and watch some Mr. Perfect today on the WWE Network or wherever you can find it. His body of work still holds up. Still one of my favorite, you know, 90s era villains and one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I hope you enjoy this call. Let me know in the comments below what other calls you want to see me make in WWF WrestleMania 2000 or the other Aki games, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and WWF No Mercy. And yes, I will eventually make Mr. Perfect in WWF No Mercy as well. So stay tuned for that. Check out all the other calls I've been working on my channel. Make sure you follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/BeBetterGamer, where I stream wrestling games. You might even catch me streaming WrestleMania 2000 one of these days. I'm on Tuesday and Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, where I stream my wrestling games. So be sure to follow me there. I have all the description, all the links in the description below. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, keep watching all the wrestling.